So, welcome back. Now we're really reaching the end of this international hub, the first edition of the hub between Europe and Latin America. And we have the icing of the cake, which we love, which is Mexico. So, without further ado, because we have just 1 hour, I leave you with the House of Mexico, our two guests, Eduardo Pérez Loyola, Director for Business Issues in Casa de Mexico, and Elias Hermida Galindo, Deputy Director for the same field of responsibility. Thank you. First of all, we're happy to join you here and to talk about a country that has an important relationship with Spain. We represent Casa de Mexico, House of Mexico, which we might say is a baby with only not even 3 years of life in the neighborhood of Chamberí, in the downtown part of Madrid. So we are European on the outside, but with the heart of Mexico in the inside. It's a wonderful setting we are in, and which is open for everyone, for entrepreneurs, for the broader audience, to showcase the marvels of our wonderful Mexico. So we are in charge of welcoming and servicing business. Any entrepreneur or any company, younger ones, older ones, any nationality actually, who wants to take up economic, commercial, or internationalization operations. So what do we stand for? Casa de Mexico. Alberto Aguilera, number 20. That's our address. As I said, this is in the very heart and center of Madrid. It has several pillars. On the one hand, it is an area that can house many cultural activities. About 2 weeks ago, we inaugurated an exhibition of Francisco Toledo, a wonderful Mexican artist. But furthermore, in Casa de Mexico, you can taste tequila, for example. That's also a business. Or you can also participate in a gastronomy workshop or a book presentation or films. And all of that is part of promoting our country. So it is an ample variety of pillars that we stand for. One of the most important ones, since we are a foundation, lies in fostering the bilateral economic relationships between these two brother countries. And why is that? Allow me a brief presentation, because Mexico and Spain share an ample history and a common language, and that makes our relations much easier in anything economic and in the field of business. This has always been very easy. There's always been a very good flow with stable and trusting political relationships, and a setting that allows to reinvest in full confidence and reciprocally in our nations, and allows us to do business in a win-win situation. We have very intense cultural relations, and that always makes these operations much easier. There's something I always repeat. We have a very intense cultural relationship, but we do need to move closer, because we do share a language, but we don't speak alike. So we need to translate to a certain degree, and we will explain how we go about that in the House of Mexico. There is an increasing trade exchange because we do need each other and reinforce each other in trade terms. Mexico is, demographically speaking, a young country with a demand of services and products. And in a way, bilaterally speaking, Spain also holds a lot of opportunities. It's a strategic step on the way to Europe for our products and services, and we want to make full use of that potential. There are interesting agreements in place, for example, the free trade agreement, that we need to know and to really make use of it so that we can fully reap the benefits of the protection for the entrepreneurs, for the SMEs, who have a lot of advantages thanks to this agreement. Mexico has invested a lot in this country, in Spain, and today that stands for almost 30 billion euros. So it's one of the most important Latin American countries in these terms established here in Spain. So the relation is really good. And this creates trust and certainty and allows for many activities with the value chain and the supply chains that are created along the way. Spain is the second most important investor in our country, ranking second only to the US. And in demographic terms, about 6,000 Spanish companies are established in our country that has so much potential, and that is good for both sides. I'd like to elaborate on this and talk much more about this important trade relationship, but allow me to really talk about what brings us here. How can we in Casa de Mexico here in Spain help all the entrepreneurs, all the young people, any nationality, the SMEs? How can we help to make projects come true? And this is where two of our programs in the entrepreneurial field come into the picture. This is where we are active. And I will allow my colleague Elias to take the opportunity to explain these two programs. One is Mexico Enlaza, Mexico Links. That is, Mexico takes you along, accompanies you, and takes you by the hand and is there for your business. And the other program is Between Aromas and Tastes, Entre Sabores, because gastronomy is important. Our habits to eat together and to do business together. So without further ado, I'll give the floor to my colleague. Thank you, Eduardo, and of course, thank you, Madrid Platform, for the invite. Let me start with the most alluring part, which is this program, Entre Sabores. It's a gastronomy program. You know that that Mexican cuisine is very well known and cherished worldwide. So that's a program that has appealed to many people. What do? We promote this cultural aspect of Mexico that is so popular. And gastronomy has translated into workshops and tasting of mezcal and tequila that have met with a lot of interest. But we also want to integrate promoting Mexican restaurants, for example, and the Mexican food catering industry and distributors in this sector. So for us, it has been easy and important to speak about Mexican food and cuisine here in Spain because it's much loved here. So this program has been enormously popular since it started in 2018. Now, Mexico links up, México Enlaza. It's a business program where we do support and give advice to companies from Spain who want to go to Mexico and the other way round. So, what do we do? So we have a given track record, and let me say that for us it has been very enriching after many years of experience, headed by our General Director Jimena Casacampos and Eduardo Loyola, who has also collaborated for many years in the promotion of Mexico. So we've been able to reap a lot of benefit from this experience, and we've been able to pinpoint the aspects where we do need to zoom in order to promote international business successful project. And that is why we have Mexico links up, so we can professionalize this exportable offer with assurance of success. So, based on the experience of having had many consultations through emails, and Eduardo will be circling back to this at the end of the presentation so that I don't get off my track. But we've had emails and messages in the social media, and we've even had people visiting us in House of Mexico, Casa de México. So we know that entrepreneurs really want to enter the Spanish market also as an entry point to the European market. And they mainly ask two things. First, how can I export to Spain? And secondly, who's going to buy my product in Spain? And we realized that there are two aspects: the physical transportation and legal, obviously, transportation of products from Mexico to Spain. And secondly, to sit down with a distributor, a possible off-taker, a purchaser. There was a gap that we needed to fill in, or to help the entrepreneurs to fill out, so that they might create an exportable offer with a proper projection and viability. And how do we do it? We have a series of procedures whereby we help the entrepreneurs to help understand the expectations of the market, what are the solutions that they can provide. We talk about competitors, regulatory aspects, and we talk also about the potential final consumer, about consumer habits. That is, we encompass a number of elements that when they were developing their business idea, these companies obviously had previously developed for the local domestic market. But this is also one of the lessons learned in our case. If an entrepreneur wants to enter another market, they only think about a distribution channel vis-a-vis this other area in geographical terms. And that's obviously very valid. We all do want to sell more, but we can't leave it only at that. This is a mental idea that we have. We need to realize that this project requires a given structure. Even if our product is very mature and well advanced and has a track record on our domestic market, and even if we have already checked off many aspects about the competition, value of our product, and so on and so forth, we have to bear in mind that this other market has other specificities. And this is precisely where we come into the picture. We want to help you to tropicalize everything that is already achieved in Mexico, that has already been done by Mexican companies. Everything they have already developed for that market in Mexico, we help them adapt it to this other new market. Sometimes entrepreneurs think that they don't necessarily have to cover all these aspects, but we know by experience that if you want to act speedily, they want to cut corners. They think that just with a given list and with a directory for export purposes, you got it made. And that is not so. So we cut to the chase and we want to make sure that the offer of that company is really attractive, has the necessary projection for the market of destination. And if it is lacking, it needs to be readjusted. And secondly, economic viability. We look for it as anyone else does. To what extent is this viable after having checked up all the other boxes? So we do accompany. This is our job in order to be filling up these gaps and shortcomings in this endeavor to become more international. And we also give training in order to help them understand, to upskill them. A entrepreneur who has a product needs precisely that, to be able to adapt. So this is a process. It's a path along which you have to travel. It's not only about a given product and then you're done. So we've been able to develop very interesting processes in Casa de Mexico in Spain, where companies who have the necessary interest and resources and want to have a given projection really can open up an enormous potential in Spain.
All of this information from Elias goes hand in hand with the Mexico Enlaza program. And we have in-person facilities in Casa Mexico. We have a co-working center. And this is where companies can carry out all of these activities, respecting all of the COVID protocols that are required at the moment. But you can use our facilities and our premises, and this you can't stay for more than 6 months, because we think that 6 months is the maximum time required to bring your project to maturity. And we want you to look at all of the points in your project. So what do? We bring in trade experts, legal firms, certification organizations, and we look at the free trade agreements, and we look at whether there's areas where products can be brought from Mexico to Spain or vice versa, and this can be a viable project that generates employment, and in some ways that adds value to both countries. And we have all of this here in Casa de Mexico. And also, it's fun, because you're not just in Casa de Mexico for the business side, but it's a very pleasant place to be. When you have a meeting with your counterparts, for example, you can also go and see an exhibition that we have there, or you can take a coffee or order a margarita in our restaurant, which has wonderful fish and seafood dishes in our restaurant. And so the Casa de Mexico is an experience. And it seeks to make it easier for everybody to do business, but with this extra value that Mexicans really love, and probably Spanish people too, which is have a good time while doing business. In the Casa de Mexico, we are working very hard, particularly to position ourselves as a place where we can be a reference point for context, for creating links with Mexico, and for generating exchanges with the two countries. And we're very pleased that if we would be delighted for you to come and spend some time with us. And there's very clear examples to date in this program, in the Mexico Enlace program. For example, we've opened a new Mexican restaurant with all the processes that have changed. And there's a woman who is selling vegan bags. And she did her market study and she did an analysis. And now she's starting to sell on this big commercial platform, which is Spain, and which is an opening to the European market. And now I'm just going to spend a bit more time on the gastronomic side and the gastro-entrepreneurial side. This generates jobs and growth, and it also generates business. Because if we look at it from our side of things, we are exporting tequila, mezcal, all of our Mexican products. This gives added value to an industry which is also very important here in Spain, and which many companies are doing, not just Mexican, other nationalities as well, are using Mexican products for new recipes in their restaurants. To open a new restaurant, which might be a bit fashionable, a bit trendy, but there is more of Mexico here in Spain with this program. And we're starting to see more the presence of products like mangoes and avocados and processed products as well. And these are things which, from Casa de Mexico, we can help you to find the right Mexican supplier. Where can I meet them? And how can we sign the business contract with them? And the reason for this is that we sort of act as a translator. We channel the information. Because when it's time to negotiate a contract, sometimes it takes longer. Why? Because that's how Mexicans are. And what does this mean when a Spaniard wants to close their contract? Well, we will set a date for an order or some information or whatever it may be, and we know that when there's a phone call or we're here in person, we might appear to be more serious, but it's not that. It's just that we're different at times. And this change in customs is something that we can help you to understand. We can make things warmer, feel more agreeable and more comfortable in all of this. And we'll hold your hand through the whole process so that we can achieve success stories, which is what we're trying to achieve. That's our goal. Lots of young people have come to Casa de Mexico, and this is also one of the reasons why we have so many projects, because 90% of our projects seek to capture this new generation, these new consumers. And we want them to come and visit us, and they go to Casa de Mexico, and they go to our business center, and they look at all the activities that we offer in the Casa. I think people are listening to us talk with such enthusiasm. Why is this? Because we truly believe in what we're selling and our country. We believe in our country. And also, it's true that the celebration of an event such as Madrid Platform gives a very clear signal about the cooperation. And I'd like to really insist on the fact that in our experience, from having spoken to Mexican companies who have chosen to come to this market, we prefer not to focus on the negative aspects. There are other companies which are taking advantage of these opportunities to do things here in Spain. And there are big challenges in communications, in the way we travel, and the need to adopt technology now to communicate. We're talking through a screen rather than physically coming to meet each other. This is all the things we've had to do, and many companies have taken advantage of these tools. And it seems to be a bit of a paradox, because we've got all of these restrictions. We can't travel around the world, but we're actually closer because things have become more efficient. Communication is more efficient, and companies are looking for alternatives, particularly alternatives to the North American market, which obviously offers great opportunities to Mexico. But in Spain, we find our natural home. As we've said, we speak the same language, even if it's not exactly the same. Culturally, we're very close, and this allows us to sign agreements, or at least assess the probability of being able to sign agreements between the two countries. And so if we look at the last 13 months, we can see that there's huge opportunity, and we are already experimenting with the possibilities with Spain. And there's other countries from Latin America connected to this session, and we would like you to see that Spain is open, that it represents a huge opportunity, and it's for all Latin American countries. It really is the gateway to Europe. Yes. We have such a lot of affection and empathy, which is typical of us, and I think this is the focus of our presentation. There is a really strong, healthy relationship between Mexico and Spain, and this has also helped us to generate a better relationship. We are a foundation. The Casa de Mexico operates as a foundation, and this is a huge advantage because most of the services that we offer have no costs. They're free, and this allows us to generate business. All we want to do is promote businesses. We want you to tell us what you're doing so that we can then inform everybody through our social media, so that people contact you, that more businesses exist, and that we can generate a bigger network of Mexican companies. And that's what we want. We want all of the entrepreneurs and business people who are working with Mexico and Spain to tell us so that we can promote them. Now, we've talked about the subjects of contact between people, and obviously we're living through a different reality at the moment, but we think next week we're going to have a presentation from one of the provinces in Mexico, the state of Puebla. And this is very important. It's one of the states which is receiving very big investment in the automotive sector from Spain. And there's also an agro-industry sector, renewable energy, technology. All of these sectors are present, and they will be here to make a presentation next week. And we will have a very busy schedule with them, with lots of contacts. And we'd like to invite you to join us, because you'll be able to see presentations of everything that this state in Mexico offers. And also, next week, there's going to be the FITUR show next week in Madrid, one of the biggest shows about tourism. And we're going to talk about this too. And I'm in charge of the economic aspects. And this has been severely impacted, the tourism sector, but we all need to be prepared for the recovery and the rebooting of the tourism sector. And we need to come together and be able to and be able to make this happen. Now, there, I think you can see a photo of Casa de Mexico. You can see how beautiful our building is. It's a photo taken in one of the sunsets in Madrid as the sun goes down. And this is what we want, is to try and develop the relationship, the bilateral relationships between Mexico and Spain. And we want to continue to create businesses, cultural relationships, gastronomy. We're not holding our usual gastronomic workshops, but you can learn to cook in the Casa de Mexico. And here we organize talks on subjects that are in relation to the construction of businesses and relationships, contracts with Mexico. And this is something else that I would like to tell you as well. We work with companies that work with our country, law firms, specialists, all of the companies that work with Mexico, and we ask them to see what we can do to help, because the experts are the ones who work with us in the Mexico Enlace program to help entrepreneurs and business people to develop their relationships between both countries. And also, it's very important what you were just saying there, because this is an open invitation. Casa de Mexico, as you can see in our photo, which shows some of the beauty of our building. It also focuses on culture, on gastronomy, and it's well open to everybody that's in Madrid. Given the current circumstances, we are open to listen to proposals for business projects from anybody. If you want to come to the Casa de Mexico and find out more about everything that Mexico's got to offer, and it's important to take this into account because we're talking about a unique space. We know what we can do for business leaders and businesses that want to evaluate the possibility of a project with Mexico. We can sell Mexican products. They're very well received here in Spain. We can see what investments could be organized in both directions. And Eduardo mentioned the substantial investments that there are from Mexico here in Spain. It's growing as a trend. And that's why we think we've reached a moment where if we take away the problems of the last few months, the economic bilateral relationship can only grow. It can only get better. And it can be more efficient. And we need to take advantage of this enormous opportunity that this is presenting. And we would be delighted to see you here in the Casa de Mexico. We're not yet open in person, but we have a huge web presence as well. We are present in every home in Spain through the social media, and we continue to share via social media. And now we're about to start our in-person events again, like next week, but we also will maintain this online presence so that we can expand and enhance the impact that we want to generate. This is Eduardo's task, and we want to really have an impact on the business communities of both countries. So we're very happy to talk about what we do, but we're also happy to talk about what we can do for the community. And I think it's worth contacting us via one of the channels that you'll see in a moment. So we have a website. Our web address is casademexico.es. And online, we have a whole bunch of videos. How to travel to Mexico, the free trade agreements, and seminars on the projects that you want to generate or implement. I want to import a foodstuff, for example. On our platform, you'll be able to see all the experts, all the information, how you can contact these experts, so that we can really help you hand in hand to achieve your project. And also, in this website, you'll find recipes and how to cook Mexican food, because these are not just companies for the public, but they also offer foodstuffs and drinks that could be of interest to anybody, because we're exporting lots of products from Mexico at the moment. Now, what we are in charge of is business and gastronomy, but that's not the only tasks. We also have a linking department. Its job is to put people in touch with other schools or foundations or universities that could join forces with this mission that we have in Casa de Mexico. We're constantly trying to enhance this network of contacts that we have with Casa de Mexico. We have companies that have already got a presence in Mexico, or company or knowledge-based firms. And so here in Casa de Mexico, which is run by Susana Pliego, who has done an amazing job. She has produced fantastic exhibitions. We've had Diego Riviera, we've got Francisco Toledo, an American painter, and of course, from our communications department, which is headed by Ruben Pizar, which is in charge of disseminating everything that we do in Casa de Mexico so that it's known to everybody. And the most important thing of all is that all of this is headed by our general director, who has years and years of experience. And we know the sector. And this helps us. It makes it easier for us to act as this liaison, facilitator. And we can then help you to achieve what you want to achieve with Mexico through our Mexico Enlace project. And I always like to say that we're very grateful. Don Valentin Desgordo is our president of the foundation, and we'd like to thank him because he's at the head of all of this. And he has a great affection for Mexico. His parents were Spanish but went to live in Mexico. And he does an amazing job for Mexico. And he helps to maintain this bilateral relationship and this affection that we have between the two countries. And above all, he helps us to ensure that Casa de Mexico continues to thrive. It's been there for 3 years, and it's at the very heart of Madrid. It's a neighborhood building in Chamberí, in our neighborhood. We invite people to come. Young people can come and do workshops on a Sunday. There's theater where you can watch films, or you can do calligraphy workshops, you can do cooking workshops, or just have a good time in the Casa de Mexico. And it really is a window on Mexico for Spain. And I would like to conclude, I would like to just leave our contacts here. Here on the screen, you'll see our contact details. Anything that you want to ask us, we've been here to convince you of our role, and now you can find us in Alberto Aguilera number 20 in the center of Madrid. You can write to us at asuntos económicos at casademexico.es. I'd like to thank Madrid Platform, all the organizations, everyone that's participated in this very important event. And we are the last ones today, and we'd like to thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being with us. So this is the very last presentation of Pro Negocio. We've had Poland, Argentina, Denmark, Peru. There's been dozens of countries, dozens. Chile, loads of countries. This is Europe with Latin America, and Mexico was our last country for this year. We'll see you in the next edition next year. Thank you very much, and thank you all. We look forward to seeing you next year. It's been a great pleasure to be with you over the last 3 days. See you again soon.